if he, they'll start over the ger dying and leaving over his property. How do you be mevatel the reshus? So Machlokes Beis Shamai Beis Hillel, if bittul reshus is on, if you can be mevatel it on Shabbos, right? We said that Beis Shamai holds that you're giving over your reshus, so therefore it can't be done on Shabbos. Beis Hillel says no, it's not giving over your reshus. You're just absolving yourself from your own reshus. So therefore, there's nothing wrong with doing that on Shabbos. So therefore, it can be done on Shabbos. And then there's the Machlokes, how to understand the Machlokes Beis Shamai Beis Hillel. Well, I preempted that. Okay. Then the Mishna says that if shutfim with wine can use that partnership for the mavli too, but wine and oil don't work. And Shimon says it does work. And then we went on for the next Amud. We discussed how that works exactly. Fine. So now that brings us to the bottom of samach, not samach. What do you call it? Ayin Aleph Amud Beis on the bottom, right? So we're going to continue with how you go make the shtufei mevuos and the eruv chatzeres. Again, just to chazer, there's two steps that have to be done. If you have a yard, right? Like Lamashal, you have a yard where you have a shared yard. So in order for everybody to carry from one yard to the other yard, so you have to make an eruv chatzeres. Now, what happens if across the street you have another yard, another set of yards, and they want to be able to use the street? So they have to make a shtufei mevuos to be able to carry on the street, right? So we've been discussing whether maybe the shtufei mevuos, if you do that, then you don't need to make eruv chatzeres back and forth. And we basically said yesterday also that eruv chatzeres has to be done with bread, and the mevuos could be done with anything. And the reason for that is because eruv chatzeres, you're actually making yourself live in everybody else's yards together with them. So therefore, bread is what you live with. Bread is what you live on, right? That was their main staple. So Mamela, you need to do bread. Shtufei mevuos is not that you're all living in the street, right? It's just that you're combining to say that we all have access to the street. So therefore, that could be any type of food. Okay, so Pligiba, we're on the third line up from the bottom. Samach Aleph, Ayin Aleph Amud Beis. Pligiba Rav Nechumi v'Rabba. So Rav Nechumi and Rabba had a Machlokes. Chad Amar b'pas the Kuli Amalei Pligi the B'chad Asagi. Right, one of them says that by pas, everybody holds that it's enough. You only need, if you could do it with pas, then all you need is shtufei mevuos, and then you could use that for the mavli and for the eruv chatzeres. Yeah, ki pligi, where's the machlokes? Yeah, ki pligi beyayin. They have a machlokes if you did it with you did it with yayin, right? The bechadas. The Kuli Amalei, I'm sorry. I lost the place here. Okay, let me just start again. Pligi bar Nechumi v'Rabba Chad Amar b'pas the Kuli Amalei Pligi the B'chad Asagi. Ki Pligi b'yayin. When they have machlokes, it's by if you did it with wine, right? B'chad Amar b'yayin. B'chad Amar. What is going on here? So Ki Pligi b'yayin. B'chad, right? B'chad Amar b'yayin and B'chad Amar, right? And one says the yayin the kuli amalei pligi the beina tarti. The other one said the opposite. By yayin, everybody holds if you do one with wine, so then you're going to need to make eruv chatzeres and shtufei mevuos. Ki pligi, when is the machlokes? The machlokes is bepas. Okay, so two opposites. So meisvei v'chacham ma'imrim oimar ben oimishtat. And the chacham say either you make an eruv chatzeres or you make a shtufei mevuos. Now it sounds like you need one or the other. You don't need both. My love, doesn't it mean that either you make an eruv chatzeres with bread, or you make a shtufei mevuos with yayin, and each one works for the other? Some Rav Gilul Amarav, that right, so that would be a raya to the second mandomer. Some Rav Gilul Amarav, no, this is what it means. You're not allowed to make an eruv chatzeres bepas. Right, umatarin kan v'kan, and then there'll be mutter there or there. Oy mishtafim mavi b'pas umatarin v'kan, or make a shtufei mevuos b'pas and to be able to carry here and there. Meaning, he's saying that you cannot. It's not. Doesn't mean the basic understanding that we had in the Havamina was oy ma'arvin oy mishtafim. Right, so it's either one with bread or one with yain. So it's saying no. Oy ma'arvin b'chotzer b'pas. Either you can make eruv chatzeres bepas and then mutarin kan v'kan, right? Then they're going to be mutter to carry in the chotzer and in the in the mavoi, or mishtatfen b'mavoi b'pas and b'tar v'kan v'kan, or you can do shtufa mavuis with pas, and then you can be mutter kan v'kan. Okay, so two different ways to understand the Mishnah. Now this is something that we learned. We had this a couple of blot ago. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav Halacha k'Rav Meir. Rav Yehuda says in the name of Rav, the halacha is like Rav Meir, that you could do both. Rav Huna Amar minhag k'Rav Meir. The halacha is not like Rav Meir, the minhag is like Rav Meir. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Nagu ha'am k'Rav Meir. And Rabbi Yochanan says the minhag of the velt was like Rav Meir. So Rashi, when we had this a few blot ago, I think maybe it was like a week ago, I don't remember exactly. Does anybody remember this? Meaning there's three different lashonos. One is that the halacha is like him, one is that the minhag is like him, and one is that the nagu is. So halacha is like him, then clearly you're paskening, that's the halacha. Right? If you're saying minhag is really the halacha may not necessarily be like him, but if you do a minhag like him, so then that's that. And Rabbi Yochanan says nagu means if they do it, then we tell them it's okay, but they're not necessarily doing the right thing. Right? Three different levels. Right? So so therefore, an eruv and shtufim mavuis that's what a Meir holds has to be done. Now it's very interesting because if you look in Shulchan Aruch comes out that we don't. As a matter of fact, I mean, I don't think any city eruv does both. In Farakwe, let's take Farakwe for an example, right? Do we have eruv chatzeris and shtufim mavuis? I don't know why I'm asking the Hillel how you're supposed to know what they have. We don't. We just do. Well, we don't. We just do one. We just have one box of matzahs, right? Really, all the yards that have access to each other should have that, and then shtuvim mavuis. Bottom line is we only do one.
But wouldn't the strings that we have change that?
Why does it change that?
It makes it one big. Doesn't the strings make it one big thing? So you don't need the shtufim mavuis. Makes it one big.
Yeah. So what are you saying? I mean, it makes it one big chutzah?
Yeah.
Not really how it works. That's not really how it works.
So one big something. I don't know, but and that's why you just need to.
You need to know. You need to make yards. You need to make to be able to. Let's say me and my mother, right? And my neighbor. Let's take us three, right? Or whatever on our block. So we all want to carry to each other's yards. So the we need.
Right, but once you can carry in the whole farak away.
Yeah, but so that would be like a mavui. Should need both. Everybody's yards should need to make an eruv, and then you need to make one that allows carrying in the streets. No, isn't that the difference between eruv chatzeris and shtufei mavuos?
So what are the strings for then? Oh, just
the strings are just to enclose. The strings have to enclose the city, right?
Okay.
Is one more like marking the territory better than the other?
Is one? It's hard to hear you.
Like, I'm sorry. Still hard?
No, that's much better. Yeah.
Okay. Is one like in terms of kinyanim, right? You could have a stronger kinyan versus a weaker kinyan, right? So in this case, like, is shtufei mavus stronger than eruv chatzeros, or is it the other way, or they're equal?
I don't think there's any. I think it's equal. Just one's on one level, and then you take it up to the street level. You have the yard level, and then you take it up to the street level.
Well, because nobody really. I mean, most people, I would assume, don't do stupid eruv chatzeros, and then most people only do one of them, right? That's what you just said.
Yeah, that's right. Based on the Ramah, it's a very interesting thing because R Meir holds that you got to do both. And that the Gemara says we paskin like him. Well, the Gemara has three versions. Either we paskin like him, or the minhag is like him, or nagu like him. Thank you. Or nagu like him. Yeah. So then.
Are there places that the town doesn't do it for everybody? Like I'm saying, like maybe in Israel, people do it on their own.
I'm not sure. No, the Ramah says not to do it. The Ramah says nowadays that we do with bread. Hold on, I'm just looking it up here a second. The Ramah says to go to Shin Samavav. don't know why he's saying the Shin Samach Vav. Really, in Shin Pei Zion is where he says it. The Ramah says, "Kasav da'anu noheg lechatchila shaloi lases rak shituf echad bekemach." We only do one eruv with wheat. V'niruli atam, and he says the reason is ki eruv shalanu shekol echad umrei achatzer noisim l'shituf, where everybody from the chatzer gives to the shituf, havi ke'eruv v'shituf b'yachad. Basically, what he's saying is that it seems like the way it worked in the old days is by the chatzer, right? Let's say about a chatzeros. So each person gave, let's say, a roll, right? Each person came and gave a roll. Now, when they wanted to combine chatzeros in the mavui, not every house gave it. One guy as a representative, right? Because again, once everybody gives in one challah from the eruv chatzeros, that means everybody's considered as one big happy family. So then all you needed is one representative from each chatzer to give in to make the eruv in the street, into the mavui, right? That's what the Gemara is referring to here. So that's what R Meir says. Okay, so then you need to do both. But now that everybody from the chutzner is giving into the mavui, so memela, that's enough. You don't need to have everybody from the chutzner give in for the eruv chatzeros, and for the mavui. One is enough. And the fact is, the Ramah says, if you're going to do both, and you're going to make a bracha on both, you're actually going to make a bracha levatala. That's how far he goes, the Ramah, by saying that. So it seems that that's because every chutzner is giving in a loaf of bread, which nowadays nobody does, but we're doing it on behalf of everybody else. So since we're doing it, Zachin Ladam Shalai B'fanav, we're doing it on behalf of everybody else. So then that's enough. Which we still haven't gotten to the bottom of that. Like, how come they didn't do on behalf of everybody else back then, right? At what point did we become so innovative that we decided to do that? I don't know the history of the eruv exactly why. Seems like back then everybody actually came and gave a loaf of bread. Now nobody does that. They don't make a collection. They make a collection to pay for the eruv.
They pay for the eruv. So maybe that's instead of the bread.
No, but they don't. But they do the matzah. That would be a good point, but it needs to be food.
How many people live in Far Rockaway?
Well, I don't know. How many are positive, or how many? I don't know how many. I don't know.
You're talking about just in the building that I lived in alone before I left was 4. Could have been 5, really, right? That's 5 in that quadplex, and there was 6 of them. And there's in between 4 to.
I don't know what the numbers are, Zev. You should know how many people live.
My point is, back in the day, some of these places like
you're saying they were smaller, so it was easy.
It could have been 20 families, 30 families. Here we're talking thousands, theoretically hundreds or thousands of families within an eruv.
You're right. There's definitely thousands of families in the Far Rockaway Lawrence eruv.
I'm just talking about Far Rockaway. Forget Lawrence.
Right.
If you start adding Lawrence,
2,500.
Yeah.
I just Googled it. It said there's 10,000 Jews that live in Far Rockaway.
Okay, but it's 2,500 families.
Maybe that includes the families, kids.
Right, that probably includes families.
So we're going to keep all that bread. You know what I'm saying?
No, there's a max. There's a max bread that you need. We haven't really discussed it yet. Okay, whatever it is, but it's interesting that the Shulchan Aruch is passing you need to do eruv chatzeros and shtufim muvos, and then the Ramah says, not nowadays. Nowadays it changed because everybody gives into the pot. Okay, let's see the next Mishnah. Yeah, chamisha chaburus. If you have five chaburus.
Wait. Can I?
Yeah.
Samazai on the Gemara. Isn't this Gemara a stira to the Gemara before that Megilin be'eruv?
Why?
Halacha R Meir, he's the Machmir.
You mean why are we not paskening lakula?
Samazai, how could the Gemara say Halacha R Meir, not Halacha Chachamim? Not only that, the Gemara mentions before by Halacha Mekilin that there was a double. Halacha Rabbi Yehuda and Halacha Mekilin.
Right. I guess you caught up. Huh? That's good.
No, that was 20 blot ago.
All right. No, because we just had it yesterday. No, we had it yesterday too. In yesterday's daf.
Really?
It's not. Yeah, it's not beferish, but it's in yesterday's daf. Right here before the Gemara, right before this Gemara. But it doesn't say it in the Gemara, but if you look at Rashi. But
Delay of Dina Katrei Chumri?
Yeah. I didn't think about that. I didn't think about
Well,
that.
they didn't paskin. Gemara says it could be. We're not sure. This one says halacha is like him. This one says no, the minhag is like him. This one says if you do it, then we attribute it to his minhag.
Oh,
It's not
Rabbi
paskin.
Yehuda Marav says halacha k'Rav Meir.
Yeah, but the other ones say no. It's not necessarily halacha k'Rav
So yeah, he's
Minhag.
asking on
So I'm
Rabbi
asking
Marav.
Kasha Rabbi Yehuda Marav.
Right. Okay, I hear that.
But
I'm
even
not
on
sure.
the Nagu, someone should say halacha k'Mekilin, halacha k'Rabbanan.
Well, maybe
You
here
can
it's
touch on the
not.
Nagu also.
Here it's also not. It's not about Eruvin here so much. It's just about do you need to make two different Eruvin? Do you need to Eruv Chatzeres and Shtufei Mavur, or does one suffice? I don't know if it's anything. It's not a kasha or a shaila b'negeya to is this eruv kosher? Is it not kosher? It's just do you need two or one? Maybe that's not considered an eruvin issue per se. I'm thinking, al regel achas, it's good enough. I don't know. I hear the kasha is definitely better than the teretz. That much masking. Yeah. Okay. So very good. So let's see.
And I'm the one at regalachas.
that's sort of yeah. Yeah. All right. So fine. So zok the Mishna chamisha chabura sheshavzu b'traklan echad. So you have 5 chaburas that are living in one traklan. How you call a traklan? A mansion. Sounds like quarantine to me, if you ask me. Right. So there's 5 chaburas living in one mansion. So now, does each chabura need to be part of the eruv? Shamai eruv l'chol chabura v'chabura. You need to make an eruv for each and every chabura, right? So you got 5 different yeshivas living in one mansion because they're hiding out or whatever it is, and so you need to make an eruv for each and every chabura. With Hillel, that's what Beis Shammai says. Eruv echad l'kulam. No, they all just have to give one bread and finish. They don't need to go gather bread from each one of them. Meaning they're all living in one big building, right? But it's obviously in separate. They have separate areas, which the Gemara is going to discuss exactly how separate are they.
It's one house.
It's one big house though, but there's separate sections in the house.
Separate sections?
Yeah.
Yaakov, I'm in this year and I'm fine. Baruch Hashem, nothing is wrong.
Oh, Baruch Hashem. Okay, you had the oil. I'm a little scared over there.
Sorry, there's nothing wrong.
Is that similar
All right, good. Baruch Hashem. Would you continue that way?
Amen.
Yeah. Okay. So no, the Rashi says, meaning they have it's 5 different sections in the mansion, and each one has a doorway from the mansion. They have separate entrances. Got separate entrances into the yard.
Why is it not like a apartment building?
I would say it sounds like an apartment building, but we're going to see in the Gemara that the separations are not exactly like separate apartments. It's like quasi apartment building. Right? It's actually very interesting. I just thought, Mamish, I saw that this morning in one of the songs from Chaim Kanievsky. He was talking about being mechanech, and he said when they first moved to Eretz Yisrael, they were so poor that they rented a house. They rented a house from somebody, but the guy didn't have a place to rent, so they had a wall, like a mechitza in between their side of the house and the other guy's side of the house.
Wow. Right,
that's the way they live. When the Kanievskis first moved to Eretz Yisrael, so he was saying that they were the person on the other side. Obviously, they were pretty much living together with a mechitza in between. That the person was so impressed with the stiplers, the way he was mechanech his kids, that he changed his whole attitude or whatever, something like that. That was the point. But point is that that's the type of mechitza we're talking about. We're not talking about a separate apartment, because if it was a separate apartment, avada, each one has to give their own bread to they have to give their own piece of the pie or whatever it is, right? But we'll see in the Gemara what exactly the separation is. So again, Beis Shammai says each chabura has to give. Beis Hillel says one is enough. There's manche miktsas and shruim b'chadarim ba'aliyas shein tzrichen erev l'chol chabura. What do I do? Umaydim. I skipped the word. That's a pretty important word to skip. Umaydim, when they're maida, bismanche miktsason shruim b'chadarim ba'aliyas. He's maida that when some of them are in the different floors or different rooms and different floors, then they need an eruv l'chol chabura. That's what we just said, right? Because it's considered separate entrances. So Zogdi Gemara Amar Nachman Machlokes b'masifim. The Machlokes is by they have like we just discussed. The whole Machlokes is where they had like a mechitza. Masifim is like a low mechitza. Rashi says mechitza nemucha. like pieces of wood, right? Aval mechitza asara, but if the mechitza is 10 tvachim high, devrei hakol eruv l'chol chabura v'chabura, then everybody's going to say that each one needs a chabura, because once it's a tall mechitza, so then that's enough. Then that's considered separate living areas. Igadamri, Haram Nachman afim masifim machlokes. Even with a masifim is a machlokes, right? So he disagrees. There's going to be 4 different shitas here. The first shita is that if the mechitza is above 10, then even Beis Hillel's maida, each one has to give their own eruv. The second shita is no, even if it's a small little mechitza, it's still a machlokes. Right? Pligi bar Rav Chia, right? And then pligi bar Rav Chia bar Rav Shimon bar Rebbe. And then there's a machlokes between Rav Chia and Rav Shimon bar Rebbe. Chadam machlokes with mechitzas hamagias letikra. One of them is saying that the machlokes between Beis Shimon and Beis Shammai is if the mechitzas go all the way to the ceiling. Al mechitzas shein magias letikra. But if the mechitza doesn't go to the ceiling, which is most of our mechitzas, devrei hakol eruv echad lekulan. Then that's considered they're all in one room, and it's one eruv. The Chadamar, the opposite. Machlokes and mechitzas shein magias letikra. They're only having a machlokes where the mechitzas don't reach to the ceiling. Our mechitzas are magias letikra, but if the mechitzas do reach to the ceiling, devrei hakol tzrichan eruv l'chol chabura v'chabura. Okay, so basically we have 4 different opinions here. The first opinion is that the machlokes is only by the short mechitzas, but if it has a mechitza of 10 tfachim, then everybody holds that each section's got to give to the eruv. And Rav Nachman said, and then there's a Ikad Amri that Rav Nachman says no, that even by the short mechitzas there's a machlokes, and then Rav Chia and Rav Shimon are having a machlokes whether the mechitzas have to go up to the roof or not. Okay, so those are the 4 shitas. Now the Gemara is going to ask kashas on them. Meisvei, so they asked the kasha Amar Rabbi Yehuda Hasavar. Rashi says Hasabar is Hashem Chorfei Kari Lehochi, because he was a sharp guy, so that's why they called him Hasabar, like from the word svara. So Rabbi Yehuda Hasabar said, like Nechluku Beis Shamai, he brought a brisa. The brisa brings Rabbi Yehuda Hasabar, like Nechluku Beis Shamai Beis Hillel al mechitzas hamagias letikra. There's no machlokes between Beis Shamai and Beis Hillel on mechitzas that reach the roof. Shetzrichen eruv l'chol chabura v'chabura, that they need an eruv to each and every chabura. Haman nechluku. What's the machlokes? On mechitzas she'ein magias letikra. It's with mechitzas that don't reach the roof. Beis Shamai yomrim eruv l'chol chabura v'chabura. Beis Shamai says it's an eruv to each and every chabura. Beis Hillel yomrim eruv echad l'chulan. No, one eruv is enough. So the mandam, now we're going to ask the kasha. The mandam, mechitzas hamagias letikra machlokes to yufta. According to the mandam, it says that the machlokes is where they reach the roof. This is a kasha on that. And this price is a proof to the one that says that the machlokes is when they don't reach the roof. But if they reach the roof, everybody agrees that each one has to give their own eruv. According to the first opinion that the Gemara brought on the bottom of the Amud, is that the machlokes is when there's short mechitza. So this is a kasha. That's also a kasha. I'm sorry. Do we say that that's a machlokes, right? So the Gemara says, Amalach Rav Nachman. So Rav Nachman will tell you, what it means is that they're having a machlokes by mechitza. And the same machlokes is even if it's a low mechitza. So then the question is, okay, so then why are you saying it by mechitza? Say the machlokes by the short. So then that's Pasha what he's going to answer.
Or if you say the machlokes is by the 10 tefachim, then of course it's going to be by the short one.
Correct. That's right. Exactly. Well, v'haida kamivlik even mechitza, and the reason why he wants to say the machlokes is by mechitza loidiacha koichan the Beis Hillel, to tell you to strengthen the Beis Hillel that even though the mechitza goes above 10 tefachim, still it's considered we still allow them to all do that, right? Fine. So then the Gemara says v'liflik b'masifim loidiacha koichan the Beis Shamai. Why don't we argue by masifim, by the shorter, and tell you the strength of Beis Shamai, that Beis Shamai holds even when the mechitza is a very lousy mechitza and it's very low, still Beis Shamai says each group has to give their own piece to the eruv. So our favorite line in Shas, koyach ta'atera adif, right? The koyach of etera is better, right? So we would much rather we would much rather have the matter things than to the aser things. So Beis Hillel is the makel. So we'd rather say the chiddush in Beis Hillel than say the chiddush in Beis Shamai, who's the more machmer. Right? Now, by the way, this is I think the second time we had koyach to teira adif, right? What is the pshat in koyach to teira adif? Right? So what does that mean? It just means everybody thinks, oh, to be machmer, it's easy. It doesn't take too much work. To be makel, it takes more work. Right?
That's the one time the Rava was called Rabba. No?
Yeah, that what he's saying?
Rava was makel on something in I think Yavamas or something. And Abaya called him Gavri Rabu. He was
Right.
makel.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, no, I'm saying, but what's a pshat? Why is koyach to teira adif? So the pshat is because it's like we just said, really, that if somebody is makel, right, he has to be very confident, and he must have thought it out fully, and he's being makel anyways, right? Because to be machmer, it's easier to be, I don't know if it's easier so much, but meaning, if you have a shiloh that you try to...
and go to the chumrah, then
No, but why? But why is that?
Because if you don't know anything, you could say, no, you can't do it. But if you really know the halacha,
there has to be more drisha of chakira by hector.
Right, but why? The
That's
pshat is
what it
right.
says. You have to
No,
go
that's
through all-
the reason is because if you're paskening lakula, that means you had to have gone through all the angles, like you said, the drisha v'chakir, and you have to be very confident that you could be makel, right? If a Rav doesn't have time to answer a shiloh, and he's not sure what to do, so what are you going to do? You have to be machmer. Meaning, it's not shot that there's an advantage to being more makel, although there are quite a few advantages to being more makel, right? Not shot that, oh yeah, we like makel because he has guts, right? That's not what it is. Pshat is that if a Rav is makel, that means he's gone through the sugya and there's no more stones that have to be unturned. He's gone through it, and that's what he comes out. Masha'en kain, if you're machmer, just you may not have finished going through the sugya, right? That's what it is. It's not just pshat that we like being makel. It's that if you are makel, that means that you're very confident. And you have to be very sure of yourself that's what it comes out. So that's why
So why don't we paskin all the time lakula? Meaning, if you're saying that somebody went through that, right? You've all these machlokes and all over the place, right? Some people are machmer, some people are makel, right? So if we're gonna use that, so paskin lakula, meaning that person unturned every stone. So why don't we paskin?
Right.
Like
So it doesn't see, but that's the thing. It doesn't say we paskin lakula. It just says the koyach of hetera is better. Right? It doesn't say we paskin lakula. It's just saying that, meaning
who's the halacha like in this case? Who's the halacha like in this case? Beis Shammai, Beis Hillel.
The Beis Hillel.
And they're makel.
That's true. That happens to be.
So that's my point. Thank you for my point.
That's true. In almost all machlokes, Beis Shammai, Beis Shammai is the machmer, and we pass always like Beis Hillel. But I don't know if that's because he's the makel.
Then what do we need to? So then why did the Gemara have to loidir karchi the Beis Shammai?
Why not what?
So then why did the Gemara say loidir karchi the Beis Shammai?
Because no, Einachanami, it's not a koyach to Beis Shammai. Beis Shammai doesn't have it's the koyach of Hetera's adif.
No, the Gemara is
right, because we have two options here. You could have said a short mechitza, right? We're saying, according to this opinion, it's a machlokes whether it's a short mechitza, a 10 tvachim mechitza, same machlokes. So you could say, so then why are you saying it by both? So we're saying by the 10 tvachim mechitza, right? Because to tell you that even when there's a mechitza so high, 10 tvachim, still Beis Hillel says all you need is one eruv. So Gemara asks, okay, so why don't you say a short one and say that the chiddush is that even Beis Shammai there, even though it's such a small mechitza, still holds each one needs. So, right, that's the question. So we're saying no, we'd rather deal with Beis Hillel because he's the more makel. So there's a more koyach by a kula than there is by a chumrah. Right? There's more koyach to it, meaning it's if the Manda Omar came out lakula, then we know that he's gone through everything. But the one that came out l'chumra is not necessarily gone through everything. That's what it's saying. But it doesn't mean that we have to paskin l'kula always. Right? Sometimes you may decide there's some paskim or whatever. We might go with the shittas that all know that we gotta be more machmer. Right? I don't think it's a psak situation. It's just more of what took more work.
What's Taisus asking?
What? Taisus is he's asking a different thing. Why don't you just have him say the Machlokes by both cases? Meaning the Ma'aseh B'Shamai Hillel don't say the Machlokes in both cases. They just say the Machlokes, and we're trying to figure out what their Machlokes is, right? So, meaning, and then you could say koyach both ways. That's what I think Taisus is asking. But he's not saying that there's a koyach. I guess, sort of, Uri, what you're saying, I don't know if you were saying this, but that you're getting at that, Zeb, you're getting to the end of the Taisus, that's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. I he's asking. No, I was thinking about going through this Taisus today in the shir, and then I said already it's not.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No. But now you got me interested because I'm thinking maybe it is kedai to bring it up, right? Because they're in
Completely
Beis.
different words.
Right? But they're in Beis. It's the opposite.
Right.
Right? There in Beis, Uri, that's what there in Beis, Beis Hillel was the machmer. His Shamai was the mekel. So that's why it's a little different. Even because Beis Shamai, that's what Taisus ends off. That Beis Shamai, Morgan Beis Hillel is not a Mishna. Yeah. Okay, let's see a little weiter. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav, Halacha Reb Yehuda Hasaber. The Halacha is like Yehuda Hasaber. Yeah. So Amar Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak Masnisin Nami Deka. And our Mishna is also doing like that. The Ketani Moedim is manchim ekzason shruyin b'chadorim v'aliyas. Right? The Moedim at the time, if some of them are living in different rooms and in different floors, shetzrich an eruv l'chol chabura. They need an eruv to every chabura. My chadorim and my aliyas. So what's rooms and what's aliyas? Ilem chadorim mamish v'aliyas mamish. What is if you mean that the upstairs is upstairs mamish and rooms are rooms mamish pshita? It's pashut. Everybody's living in their own room, so of course it's considered their own house. Elalav, what it must mean? Kein chadorim, kein aliyas. It's similar to chadorim, similar to aliyas. And what is that? Umay nihu mechitzas hamagias atikra. That's talking about mechitzas that reach the roof. Shema know that's what it is. So the Shema know that once the mechitzas reach up to the roof, then everybody's going to agree that it's separate rooms. Agav, we do paskin, the Mishnah Brura paskins that when you says lo yoshin, a person shouldn't sleep in a house alone at night, right? Mishnah Brura learns that to mean a bedroom, not a house. That a person shouldn't sleep in a room alone at night, right? Okay, nowadays we're not really noheg like this. It's not clear, some say, because there's lights on and mezuzahs. There's all sorts of Torahs why we're not. But bias, the definition of bias, the way the Mishnah Brura says it is, bias is a room. A room is considered a bias. In which case he brings one of the big kulas in Hilchas Yichud in the Mishnah Brura. You tell somebody, oh yeah, the Mishnah Brura is mekel on Hilchas Yichud. Hilchas Yichud is Even Ezer. It's not an Orach Chaim. Where's the Mishnah Brura talking about Yichud? So on there, the Sharatzian says for Hilchas Yichud, let's say a man and a woman are stuck in a house, Yichud. So the Mishnah Brura says each one can go into their room and lock the door. The Sharatzian actually says it. Each one can go into their room and lock the door, and they're considered separate houses, and there's no yichud. To which a lot of poskim do not like that Mishnah Brura's kula. It's a major kula, and it bails you out a lot. Really bails you out a lot.
You told me this once.
I told you once, yes. So
There you go. But I'm saying you see clear that a room is for sure, according to all opinions, considered a separate house, and each one would have to give their own eruv.
Well, in Shiakov, the chesed houses, they make outdoor locks on the bedrooms, right? The chesed apartments, but hospitals, They make real locks.
Do they? They make it.
So this way, yeah, because they don't know who's sleeping where. So it's a mamish that it's probably based on that the Mishna Brura.
You mean so? But they lock the door. You're saying?
Yeah, they lock the door.
I hear, but I think the Mishnah Brura might be. It sounds to me like the Mishnah Brura will be makel even if the lock is on the inside.
No, I understand, but we have to be more from it in the Mishnah Brura already.
I guess so. That's what you're saying. Yeah, the Chazon Ish they was not very happy with this. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought Pshat in the Mishnah Brura was bedavka if the lock is on the inside. The other one can't get in.
What do you mean? What are you saying?
The other, a man and a woman, 2 separate rooms, right? The lock should be on the inside, not the outside.
The lock. Yeah, but the question is, but the guy could just unlock his room.
Yeah, but he'd have to unlock her room too.
What are you saying?
If the lock is on the outside, it only, by necessity, only takes one of them to want to do wrong.
Right.
If the locks are on the inside and they're both locked,
right,
he has to rely on her to open her door.
Correct.
That's the shmira.
Well, that's the tumult. Is that the way it needs to be?
Pedavka on the inside, yeah, not the outside. On the outside, if he has a key, then it's just him.
And it's a fire hazard.
That's besides the point. Yeah.
But if the locks are on the outside, it's just it's just one key.
No, I'm just they have real locks. I don't know where they are in the Bika Chaylim apartments, but they have real locks. That's all. That's what I'm saying.
Wait a minute, they have a padlock now.
What?
Don't they have a padlock?
Yeah, so it's a real lock. They don't have these flimsy doors like you have in bedrooms in your house. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's all. Interesting. Yeah, okay. So but is that a security thing? Maybe it's a from thing? I don't know. Ich weiß nicht. All right, let's see weiter. Tana, oh, so now this is an interesting point too. Yeah? When is this talking about? That's when you bring the eruv to someplace else. But if the eruv would come to them, right, then divrei hakol eruv echad lekula, and then all you need is one eruv, right? Yeah, it's meaning depends where the eruv is being placed, right? If they have to go, people from the what do you call it, the mansion have to go give their eruv to somebody else in the chutzner, so then. Then you have the whole Machlokes, right? But if the eruv is being placed by them, right, then divrei hakol eruv echad lekulon. Then all you need is one, right?
Why would this one mansion need an eruv inside?
What do you mean?
What does it mean, ba'etzlan? I mean, when it's being placed somewhere else, does that mean that there's lamashal 2 mansions with 1 chatzar, and they're all making an eruv chatzeris?
You have one. Yeah, you have right. You have one mansion. You have 5 houses opening up into a chatzar, right? One has a mansion with a bunch of apartments or whatever dividers, and then you have 4 more houses. So if they're putting the whole eruv by everybody else. Right, so then that's the shaila b'sham b'shil. But if the people are if everybody in the chutz, in the other house in the chutzner are bringing their bread to the mansion, so then there would be no shaila, right? That's what it's saying. Yeah, which we already really discussed before, that the house that's the eruv is being kept in doesn't need to give, right? So if you have one house that's poor and he doesn't have any bread to give, I don't know what he's eating for Shabbos, but I guess he'll eat the eruv, maybe I'm saying, but he doesn't have to give. So everybody should put the eruv in his house, right? And then it'll be fine. So then the Gemara says, "Kaman Ozla, who's the goal like Hod Tanya Chamisha Shagavo is eruvan Kishamelichan is eruvan Lamakam Acher eruv Echel Kulan Kaman Kabisil." Right? It was learned Chamisha that collected the eruv when they bring the eruv to someplace else. Eruv Echel Kulan. That's one eruv for everybody. So who's that like? Then it's going to be like Beis Hillel. That's one way of looking at it. Amri, the opposite.
When did he have this machlokes? When the eruv comes to them. But if they're going to put, the mansion's going to put all their eruv someplace else, everybody holds it needs an eruv l'chol chabura. Each one's going to need a chabura. Come on, Ozla. Then who does this price go like Tanya Chamisha Shagavos Eruvin? That 5 people are collecting eruv and kashamelichan is eruvin l'makam acher. When they bring the eruv to one place, eruv echad lekulan. Who is it like? I mean, eruv, you need one eruv. Who's that like? The like echad. And it's not like Beis Shamai and not like Beis Hillel. Right? Because there, everybody, the Brisa says you don't need it. Right? And we're saying Beis Shamai and Beis Hillel hold you need at least one. Right? Okay, fine. So that's that. So Dr. Mishna, now on to a new subject, also with eruv chatzeres. Right? You have brothers. This is actually negeya to me, this Mishnah. Right? Because I have my own eruv. Right? We have our own eruv with my house, my mother's house, and the house in between. And do we need our own eruv chatzeres or not?
Why not?
Right? So, but by my mother, if she's home, it's either me eating by her eating by me most of the time. Once in a while I eat alone, but if she has a lot of family, but and if not, the snacks and dessert, whatever, it's the food's flying back and forth. The kids are ma'aser, right? That's without a doubt, right? So brothers that are eating on their father's table, but they're sleeping in their own house, right? So l'mashal me, most of the time I'm eating here Shabbos. I'm in my mother's house now. So, right. So I'm eating in my mother's house and I'm sleeping at home. So do I need to be, and we have our own private eruv. So do we need to make an eruv chatzeres or not? Right. So they sleep at home. Each one of us, when we're giving into the eruv, each one needs to give an eruv. Let's say one of us forgot to be part of the eruv. Then he's mevatel his reshus. Right? Amasai, when is that? But that's only when everybody's bringing the eruv and putting it in somebody else's reshus. But if the eruv is coming to the parents, or right, well, or right to the father's house, or there's nobody else in the chutzner other than the kids and the parents, then you don't need an eruv, right? Sort of like we just learned. So now the question becomes, the question that the Gemara is going to discuss, and it's going to come up a couple times in the next couple of days. So what makes it considered a separate house? Sleeping or eating? Right? So from here it sounds like they're eating by their father's house and they're sleeping at home. And we're saying that they all need to be part of their own area. They need to each give in to the eruv. So that's mashma, that sleeping is the ikr, not eating, right? I mean, this issue comes up b'negeya to Shabbos candles, right? Where's the ikr for Shabbos candles? Do you light Shabbos candles where you're eating or where you're sleeping? And Chanukah comes up whether you're eating or you're sleeping. And for eruv chatzer, it's the same thing. So
I don't understand why it makes an ikr. If you're in two different places, you're in two different places. Why is showing one an ikr, not the other?
No, because if they're eating by their father, and the ikr is where you eat, so they're part of one family. They don't have to. Each one doesn't have to give into the eruv, right?
What do they want to do? They want to carry from one place to the next.
They want to be able to carry in the yard.
They want to carry in the yard. So if you say if they're eating there, that should be the food is the ikr. The food should be the eruv. You don't need another eruv.
No. You have a yard. Let's take a basic example. You have a yard, 5 houses. One house belongs to a father. One house belongs to a son. 3 houses belong to strangers. Okay? The son always eats by the father's house on Shabbos, but he sleeps at home. Now everybody's got to give, right? There's 5 houses. You got to give in, let's say, 5 rolls into the pot to make the eruv chatzeres.
If you want to carry in the yard.
If you want to carry in the yard. The shared yards. Okay. Does the son have to give his own, or can he piggyback on his father?
Well, he has his own house. If he wants to carry it,
but he eats by the father.
What if he slept by the father?
Then there's no question. He's part of their house.
Why is it?
But he's in his own house. If he eats in his own house,
you just said he sleeps by his father.
No, but if he eats in his house and he sleeps by his father.
That would be the same shaila, just the opposite.
I'm saying if he has his own house, he's not.
No, so that's the
you
question.
You want to say what makes a person a guest?
Correct, exactly. Which is something personally, it's almost Hanukkah time. I guess
Wait
it's
a
almost
minute.
Bisham Yom before Hanukkah.
Somebody supporting his son. He's not a guest by the house.
What do you mean? He's just giving money to the son, but the son's eating on his own?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's giving money to his son. Doesn't mean that they're not in separate households.
That's the shaila, right? He's eating in the father's house.
Right, but that's different than being supported.
Why?
Because supporters, you're just giving him money. You're being a nice guy. You're giving him money.
When he's eating in the house, what's the din when he's eating in the house?
No, eating in the house meaning the pshat is that where you eat, that's considered your home base. Like by me, in my eyes, wherever I eat, that's my home base because that's what I like to do. I like to eat more than I like to sleep.
Does it matter?
Are you only saying that because you're in your mother's house?
No, no, she's not here. She left the room, so it's okay. But I'm just saying, I like to eat. You know what I mean?
Does it matter who lives
me,
there?
Eating is the ikker. What?
Does it matter who lives there, who pays for it? If you have a father-in-law who's supporting his son-in-law, his name is on the lease. So whose house is that?
Zev, is that what you're asking? Well, it's different. That's a different thing. The father-in-law's name is on the lease.
Yeah.
I'm not going so far as him. I'm going if it's Samech. The Gemara says it's Samech al Shulchanai, the Rashi, right? So he's being Samech on him.
Samech al Shulchanai means that he's eating there. It usually means that he's actually eating
What
there.
does it mean, Samech al Shulchanai? If somebody's being supported, so then.
That's true, but who says the din of Samech al Shulchanai has to do with Eruvin? Right? I'm saying Samech al Shulchanai is different. It's a different thing. Lamashal, I'll tell you, it's Lamashal. You know, so people go away for Shabbos, right? Let's say you go away to somebody's house for Shabbos and you're eating there and you're sleeping there. So then they're busy giving them a quarter to be mishtatif with the neiros. Usually Bachram are busy with this. I think, I'm still working on this every year, because it comes up a lot on Hanukkah, that really you only have to be mishtatif with the neiros on Shabbos or really in Hanukkah. That's if you just happen to be staying there. But if you're sleeping and eating in somebody's house for Shabbos, you are considered his b'nei bayis for that Shabbos. You are considered part of his household, and you're yotze the candles with his candles because you're his household. You're eating by him, you're sleeping by him, you're doing everything by him. It's only an issue where you can do it.
Let's take your house. Let's take your house for example.
Why do people do it then?
Let's take your house for example.
One second, why do people
by
do
your
it?
mother.
1 second, Naftali, hold on a second.
Why do people do it then? I saw a big Rosh Hashiva do it.
Well,
is that eating all 3 meals?
I would say, yeah. I don't know if I don't know if it's 2 meals.
I saw a big Rosh Hashiva do it.
And he was sleeping and doing everything in the person's house?
Yes, yep.
Yeah. Okay, so it's he was doing
Is
it
it
for
a
another.
chumrah or? No, he wasn't. His wife was in Israel and he was here by himself.
Right, so be'etzem he's be'etzem yotze neiros with his wife.
His wife.
Be'etzem he's yotze with his wife, but he needs to have candles in his room. Right, Mustami made sure to have a lamp in his room. Mustami was a chumrah. That's
what I figured. It's a chumrah.
Again,
right?
I'm working on this because I'm not sure. Every year I get masupik about, because I've seen some say beferish like what I said, and then I've seen others say like what you're saying that this Rosh Hashiva did. So I'm not sure I don't have it clear myself what the scenario is, but one thing is for sure. If you're eating and sleeping at somebody's house, you're considered one of the b'nei bayis of the house.
If I go to a convention for Shabbos, Torah Messiah convention,
right?
I can't be Samech al Shulchanai of Torah Messiah?
If they're paying for you, then yeah.
No, in terms of neiros, you have to like do it. There's like a whole shtick to it. You have to be in the lobby. You have to sit. It's not so simple. Like in the
That's
hotel.
true because you have to light.
You have to have
somebody,
the neiros by your
right? Because somebody has to light Shabbos neiros. There's nobody there that's a balabas.
No, but it also has to be visible from where you're eating. Shabbos neiros has to be visible from where you're eating.
Right, but that's a different thing. But that's just somebody. Right?
No, I'm sorry. I was talking to my kid.
Is this the same question as like someone going to someone's house for a meal on Shabbos and asking them if they want to make their own kiddush?
It's not really there. It's just a matter of whether you want to do roiv am or would you rather each person. See, b'chasidim they'd rather each mitzvah by yosemi b'shluchai, right? So it's better that each person do the mitzvah themselves. That's the way Hasidim do it. And conversely, the Litvish go with Roiv Am Hadras Melech. The more people being part of the mitzvah, the better it is. So you make one big kiddush versus people not making
or everyone making separate Yihi Ratzons or Brachas by Rosh Hashanah Samanim.
What?
So if people should make their own brachas Rosh Hashanah by the Samanim, now is that also like whether Roiv Am Hadras Melech or everyone should make their own bracha?
Right. Right, the same. So it's always the same issue, but that's not the candle issue. It's different.
Why is this not the same as Pesach? Right, Pesach. Don't you say that if you're staying in someone's house, you have to do badika in whatever your area is?
That's a different issue.
Okay.
That's a different issue. There you have a chiyuv. If you own the house within 30 days, right? If you own a house within 30 days, then you have a chiyuv of doing bedikas chametz somewhere in the world. So that's why that's a different. Yeah.
Well, let's use your house, your neighbor, your mother, and Parrot is here. If Parrot comes to your mother for a meal, he can rely on her eruv chatzeres and go out to the yard. Correct or incorrect?
He can be saimach. Yes.
He can be samach on your mother. So the question is, since you live in the same
chutzner, no, that's different. That's different. Because he's a guest. He's a guest. He's not in the chutzner. You too, the same thing.
Right. Me also, if I come, right? So
anybody that comes to the minyan.
So you're worse off if you live there and you didn't make when you're eating by your mother. To you, that's because you own a property.
Good point. Yes, because I own a house or the bank owns that. Somebody owns that house.
So once you have and if you would go to your mother for the whole Shabbos and sleep there, even though you own the house, you'd be. If you own a house in the chutzner, does that? And you go. Let's say you go into your mother, you sleep in there. Then you don't need to make your own eruv. You do to make your own eruv. Once you go into the chutzner, you own the house, but you go into your mother for both.
Correct. Well, no, then
it's mother for both.
Then
it's
not
no
a
problem
question.
all of a sudden.
What?
So then it's no problem.
Right.
So we have to find out what the ikar is. Okay.
That's exactly it. The question. That's exactly the question. Right. That's exactly the question. And from the Mishnah to Mashma. What's going from the Mishnah? It's saying that they're sleeping alone. Right. Then it's Shmamino. Look at the Gemara. Shmamino, Makam Lina Gorim. From the Mishnah, since they're sleeping home alone and they're eating at the parent, and we still say that they need to be part of the eruv. So that means sounds like where you sleep is the ikar. So Marav Yudah Marav, the Makabli Prashanu. Oh, so now this changes the whole thing. Right? This whole din is talking about now, Zev. I don't know if this is what you were referring to. They're not eating in the father's house. They're just picking up their food, like Tomchei Shabbos from their father. Right? Right? So it's meaning they're not eating by the father's house. They're taking the food home. So that's called the father supporting. Right?
Yeah.
So now we're saying that's where they have to make their own eruv. But if they would eat by the father's house, then they would not have to do their own eruv.
But if they're picking it up to go?
What?
But if they're
that's why that's considered they go basa where they sleep. But if they would be eating on the table,
if you pick up food from your mother.
Yeah.
So I'm saying
it's saying that if he's sleeping at home and picking up food from his mother, he has to make his own eruv. But if he would be eating by his mother and sleeping at home, then he wouldn't.
When the Mishnah says that each one has to make their own eruv, that's because they're bringing the food home. But if they would be eating by the father's house, then it's not like that. Yeah. What time is it? 10:02. Okay, we'll stop here. We'll continue the sugya. We'll continue the sugya tomorrow. All right, fine. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Yeah.
Where it's Yaakov.
Yeah.
The word saber that we had with Rav Yehuda, Rashi brought it used the same word by Rav Chista and Rav Sheshis before.
Art Scroll says that it means the sharp thinker.
Yeah.
1 second.
I think
What?
Rashi said it by Masnaisa to Rav Sheshis, somewhere there, no?
Where was this?
Samach Zayin Amud Aleph.
I looked it up. I was trying to look it up in the introduction to the Talmud Art Scroll thing that they have.
What were you looking up?
Where it says everything is Rav Yehuda Hasaber. So
Yeah.
so Rashi says that Hasaber means the sharp one.
Right.
So like his logical whatever was like uber sharp, but I didn't know that. I missed that Rashi.
So what are you? So yeah, Gershon, what are you talking about?
It up, but
the Gemara Rav Chista Rav Sheshis Kipagi Bahadadi. Yeah. So Rav Chista's lips used to shake.
Oh yeah. Right.
And Rav Sheshis Mirta Kule Gufe Mipapule de Rav Chista.
Right.
Rashi Mipapule, he used the same word. Charif v'sabar.
Oh, very good. Psh. That's a good aura.
Yeah.
Sabar hoya biyoser.
Yeah.
V'amak b'shei loisov. Chorav v'sabar hoya biyoser. Wow. Oh, very good deal. Very good.
But see, more chashuv. You say Rav Yehuda here is a Tana. There he's not Meir he's talking about. V'sabar hoya b'yoser.
Yeah. Wow, very good deal. I like it. Put it in the safer. Put it in the safer. Yeah.
The Chuvos v'Hanhagos in Moadim on Chanukah. I was doing a Smichas Chaver program. So they're talking about.
Oh, you're doing that program? That's a very nice program. Yeah.
Yeah. So this past month, one of the things we were talking about was Neir Shabbos was part of it. They went through was a Reish Samach Gimel in the Shulchan Aruch, right?
Yeah.
So he brings one of the Marmakomos was Chuvos v'Hanhagos in Moadim on Chanukah. It says exactly like you said before, that Hadlakas Neris, if you're samech on somebody's shulchan and you're sleeping in their house and eating with them, as if you're part of the Balabais family.
Oh, he says that?
He says it's great. I'll take a picture of it. I'll send it to you.
Very good. Yeah, please. And he brings it from anybody, or he's saying that on his own?
I'm sure he brings it from somebody. There's limitations to my abilities to read. So.
But that's eating and sleeping, or just one?
No, it says Rak kol astomach al shulchan Balabais the kvias dinok Kabbalabais, Shulchan Aruch, Mishna, and he brings Reish Samach Gimel, Sifkat and Lamed Gimel. That he says it over there. So he says.
Okay, so yeah, do me a favor, send me a picture.
Yeah, I'll send you. He says, Lufiz Zeb, Yeshiva, Afshe Ein Sham Balabais, so for Yeshiva, even if there's not a Balabais, because Malcolm Echad Madlik the Yosin Kulam Bahayad Laka. So I mean that's for nearest Hanukkah, that's not necessarily for Shabbos, but I think you can equate the two.
I would love to know if they. One second, you're learning Shabbos or you're learning Hanukkah?
I'm learning Shabbos, but he brings this as part of Neiros Shabbos and Neiros Hanukkah. There's similarities between the two.
Interesting. Wow. Okay, good. Yeah, if you don't mind sending it to me.
Not at all.
But that's only Negei if he's not interested in Hiddur Mitzvah.
Why? Well, I mean, Mahadran and Mahadran.
Because everybody.
It's true, but it could be Nageya.
We're talking about Mahadran and Mahadran. If I want to light, where do I light? Right. Do I light by him or by me?
Right. So, but it could be that if the guy's traveling and they're lighting for him in his house, right?
Yeah, but this is before the Shiloh starts. This is if he's eating and sleeping there. Yeah, Vadi could be yikes with the Balabayas. No one argues with that.
No, but he's saying, but you don't have to be Mishtatif Papriti.
If you're talking about Shabbos also, yeah.
No, but I'm saying even Hanukkah. Let's say
he's a B'nai Bayis. Nerishu Beisa would include him without being
correct.
Mishtatif.
But let's say the guy's just sleeping there, not eating there.
I don't know. He didn't. Did he say that?
What? Did the guy's eating there and not sleeping there?
Yeah.
Or eating there, not sleeping there for sure is not right. At least Benegay to Hanukkah.
Well, that's Shmir Shabbos Gilchas brings that up. That exact thing. That even if you're eating somewhere else and you're coming back to your own house and you're supposed to light, in your own house.
Yeah, that's a big tumult. That's a big tumult in the Paiskim Friday night.
I mean, that's what Shlomo Zalman says that you say.
Right. Yeah.
That's for Shlomo Zalman L'Shitase. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Because
That you have to.
the whole part of Neir Shabbos is, I mean, according to that, is Shalom Bayis. So where are you sleeping? You're sleeping in your house. So that's what you want, Shalom Bayis in your house. So you know.
You don't want to be tripping over things in your
You
house.
don't want to be tripping over things. You want to see what you're eating, whatever it is. So yeah. But he says when he's bringing up, who was it? I saw before something about like a second. Here. Mir Shabbos also brings up where is it? Yeah, I'll take another picture of it. I'll send it to you. But he was talking about when you're whether or not you're madlik in your house or somebody else's house. This is
Right.
If you're not staying in your house, I'm gonna go madlika ela shnei neres bilvad. That you're only like, that's I guess in multiple candles, not one. Okay. No.
Are they gonna do the Hanukkah sugya after this?
No.
Because the two really.
Muksa is next.
Oh yeah.
Muksa starting this week.
It would be a good idea.
Well, one of the things that you brought up that you mentioned about the kula in Hilchos Shabbos, I think there's something that as long as there is a shita that's makil on something, there's what to rely on. Meaning, even if that's not how we paskin, we still say ultimately if somebody does something, let's say like bisher lach or bishul with davar lach, right? Because meikar hadin it's mutter, but it's more of a chumrah that we don't do it. Right, so even if something like that was done, it's still because of that, the fact that there is some sort of heter for it, then we say that the food is mutter.
Right. So what are you saying?
I'm saying so that's the whole koch the heter adif. Meaning, so it's like kind of circumstantial. You know, it's like if we feel we're gonna be too makil and therefore you're gonna lose your covered Shabbos, then we're gonna say you know what, let's be machmir. But in an instance where everybody's going to be machmir and then all of a sudden something happens, okay, you could be mako because maker then it's okay.
Right.
So it seems like the kof the hetera adif is.
Interesting.
Okay. So
it's very okay. So and that's punk. They had it in the thing. Very good.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, I get the nacht. Yashikayach.
All right, everybody. Okay, shkoyach. You sending to me, or you send me?
Sending you right.
I got it. Okay, very good. Okay,
right.
Thanks a lot.
No
Peace out, everybody.
Night.
Bye bye.
Night.